you'd like me to? Okay, so I'm still going to center, just like I would normally center. Because this is a lot of clay, I'm going to use a lot of muscle. But I'm going to flatten it out as I go. See how far over I push my body? Okay? I can't emphasize this enough, that it really is your whole body, you guys, that you need to use. Now, once I'm centered, I'm going to start pressing the clay out. The wheel's going to go rather fast, but my hands are going to go slow. And notice how one hand is over the other. I'm compressing that clay as I move it to the side. And we do this a little bit at a time. And I am putting quite a bit of pressure on here. As it goes to stick, I'm going to add some more water. See how I'm pressing it out? And when I get to the side, I'm going to go ahead and press that to the side. This is the wet slurry that came off in my hand as I was compressing. And go again. Notice one hand is down like that, the other one's on top, and I'm literally pressing that clay. I am using all the muscle I have in my arms and my fingers to really spread that clay out. We go all the way to the edge and then kind of press it in. Okay, so I still have an edge right here. We don't want it to be flat as a pancake, right? Patience, patience, patience too when making plates. I love to throw plates, but so again, I go from the center and back out. Compress. I'm going to go one more time. Keep in mind, a lot of a plate becomes a real plate in the trimming. And you'll see that next week because I'll trim this next week. The problem with plates, we cannot move them from the bat, so they have to live on the bat. So if you're making a whole set of dinnerware, my advice would be to buy your own bats. So I'm going to come back and I'm compressing right now. So I'm moving the wheel quickly and my hands slowly and making sure that that center is nice and compressed, okay? So I do notice that sometimes when beginners are centering, this center part is really, really soft. That means that hasn't been compressed. And so that's exactly what I'm doing here. And it is really, really important when we're making a plate to have that edge compressed. So now, I think I have a good sized plate here, okay? So now I'm gonna do what we call opening. Remember making the donut? So notice, I'm about a 1/2 inch thick, so I have some room there for a foot. And now I'm gonna make the donut, but I'm gonna do it a little differently. I'm gonna go down, and then I'm gonna start pushing this towards me. And we're not opening up huge, like if we were a tall vessel. But see how I'm opening this up? And I'm using this hand to press that edge right here so I don't get that, you guys have had that come up in your hand. So by me pressing this edge right here, that keeps it from coming up in my hand. Remember, water is your lubricant. Again, my wheel's moving rather quickly, but my hands are moving slow. And I'm going to bring this in right here. And you notice I already have what I would call a saucer. Some people nowadays are calling these plates, but they're not. They're saucers. A plate has some place for the fork and spoon, okay? And I don't mean to be like an old English, Miss Manners or anything, but I'm really, really tired of people eating from saucers and troughs. So you notice now I'm just compressing a little bit more to make sure that I'm really nice and solid right here. Sometimes the clay will come up in my hand, that's okay. I'm gonna go backwards now and spin my wheel pretty quickly so I can make sure that I don't have any nipple in the middle of my plate. That's what happens a lot too. We may not see it right here, but once we glaze it, it'll really, really show us that nipple. So we wanna get rid of that. Notice I'm not doing anything to this edge. So for right now, I'm gonna compress it. We compress it just like if it was a big cylinder. So I'm pinching, I'm coming down. I'm lifting that up, making sure everything is compressed nicely. And I'm gonna move to my metal rib. I'm gonna go from the side and in, and what I'm doing here is I'm compressing again. Any air bubbles, if there was air bubbles in the clay, they would come up right now. But I did a good job of wedging, so that's not happening. I'm gonna go over that center again to make sure it's nice and flat. So I don't do anything to that edge until my bottom is completely perfect. And I like a little bit of a spiral in the bottom of my plate. It's not enough that food sticks in it, but enough that you know that it's handmade. It has my fingerprints on it. So once I think that I'm good and compressed, which I think I'm there, so that cylinder's bothering me a little bit. Now I'm going to start treating this just like if it was a cylinder. Remember, when we make a cylinder, we don't revisit the bottom again. So once I'm finished here, which that little guy's bugging me, there we go. Once I'm finished here, then I'm going to go directly over here and I'm going to start pulling this edge up. So I'm going to compress it first, my fingers, again. I'm going to go right here, these fingers on this side. I'm going to slow down my wheel and I'm going to start pulling up this edge. So it looks like I have a big pie dish now, right? I promise you guys it'll be a plate. Let's go over that real quick right there. I'm going to pull again. I'm going to make sure that this is compressed and I have a nice even lip. So if my lip comes up uneven, I need to fix it now. I don't have an uneven lip, so I'm just going to pull one more time. I'm also going to keep this little lip kind of thick. And here's why. If I want this to be a dish that we're going to use in my kitchen, I want it to be durable on the edges, right? When I'm throwing it around in the sink and the dishwasher and everything else, I don't want a fine edge that's going to break really easily. I want something that's going to be able to withstand the use. So the next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this clay right here. I'm not going to bother to try to pull that up. I'm just going to go ahead and clean that out. Am I boring? You guys are so quiet today. Well, I know lots of times people make plates not intentionally making plates. Now that I've cleaned that, I'm just going to compress this one more time because I'm all about compressing. Now I am actually going to take my metal rib and I'm going to put a little curve right here, and I'm going to use my metal rib to do that. So if you can't see, I'll put it up to the edge. I'll just put that little curve right there. You see how I did that, everybody? I'm just going to compress that one more time before I lay this down. Pull. I'm going to use my chamois to make sure my edge is perfect, because once I lay this down, we're not going to retouch it. Okay, so now very slowly, I'm going to put my hand right here to support this. I'm going to use this part of my metal rib, and I'm going to come in right where I put that curve there. And there you go, now we have a plate.
It's a platter. Nice.
So, That's how you make a plate. Now, keep in mind, you guys, this looks like a big plate, but it's gonna shrink, so it won't be a platter. This is 12 inches. So a typical dinner plate is 10 inches, not including the lip. So this will be the perfect, it'll be a little bit smaller than a normal dinner plate. Keep in mind, I used 5 pounds of clay, okay? Where do you think all that clay is gonna come off? It's gonna come off when I trim it. So you'll see how the plate comes into full fruition next week when I trim it. But this is how you make a proper plate. A proper plate has a place for your silverware, okay? It is not a saucer, okay? So if your edges are straight up like this and it's flat on the bottom, that's a saucer. You can eat out whatever you want, but Emily Post would say you were not being correct. So what I'm gonna do, you guys, is I will leave this right on the bat until next week. I am gonna cut it, okay? And here's another thing that you need to know when making plates. Make sure that your cutoff wire has a nice, straight, no kinks in it, because as I pull this, if I don't cut it off evenly, it's gonna make it difficult for me to trim it, okay? So it's really important to have a nice straight, I have in my studio when I'm making plates just one cutoff wire that is only for plates. And it's kind of longer, so if I make a longer plate, I can get it all the way through. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this, and then we're gonna leave it to become leather hard directly on the back. So again, if you decide that you're going to make plates and outfit your kitchen, my advice would be either open your own studio or bring in your own bats so this stuff can stay on the back. Because as you guys, there's no way I can move this without destroying it. So.